Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS. This is a DFS review video for the 2021 Memorial Tournament where Jon Rahm is your winner. What? Patrick Cantlay won this? Wasn't Rahm at like 18 under after Saturday's round? Oh, he was forced to withdraw because of a positive COVID test. Well, what did Cantlay end up shooting? 13 under? Are you really? So a 5-shot disparity between those two golfers? Yeah, Rahm should have won this. Yeah, yep. So there you have it. I guess I'm wrong. Cantlay won this tournament, 13 under. Rahm was 18 after Saturday's round. He had a 6-shot lead after Saturday before officials came up to him and said he had to withdraw because he had a positive COVID test. Now, you guys can have your own opinions about whether or not he should have been vaccinated or not. It doesn't matter to me. What I think should have happened is the PGA Tour should have had protocols in place for this kind of thing. And I get it. Their protocol is just force the golfer to withdraw. But here's the thing. Here's my solution. You could have had 6 volunteers follow Rahm 6 feet apart from Rahm, at least. Maybe we put 10 feet around Rahm. Make a little bubble around him while he plays. Have Rahm also wear a face mask the entire time. Do you think he would for $1 million? Absolutely. He would have. So have that 10 feet bubble around him. And everybody that's coming into the tournament, there are electric scoreboards all over the place. Put an alert. Jon Rahm has COVID. So any fan that wants to get close to him is doing it by choice. And I get it. We don't want to spread it. No, I totally understand. But we're also putting into the American people that they have a choice to do whatever they want. If they want to get close, so be it. But no. Those security guards don't allow that, right? And if you don't want COVID, you don't get close to Jon Rahm, period. You know, if he hits a ball offline, you don't go chase it and make that little circle around there. And even if there is that little circle, boom, volunteers pushing people out saying no. 6 feet, at least 6 feet. You got to move 10 feet. So that's my solution. I feel like that is easily doable. Like you're going to find volunteers willing to do that. Have them wear face masks. You get to watch a winner for 18 holes. Just follow the winner for 18 holes. And if he has to play alone, he plays alone. If he has to play in the morning, he plays in the morning. Who cares? Let him play. In fact, anybody who gets COVID, let them play. It's golf, for goodness sakes. You are on a golf course, isolated most of the time. If a golfer hits the ball in the fairway, you want to know who's the closest to him? His caddy. That's it. Maybe another golfer who also puts it in the fairway, but there are no fans within 20, 30 yards of him. I don't bring up sour grapes or anything like that because I rostered Jon Rahm because I did. I wasn't going to win money anyways. Like I did a strategy this week that was not good. I thought it was aggressive. I thought it would pay off, but it didn't. Anyways, I don't say it because of sour grapes. I just think it's unfortunate for us watching this. Because this tournament's it's going to be just shadowed by the fact that Rahm had this enormous lead, was probably not going to vanquish it. I know we just saw Lexi Thompson do that in the U.S. Women's Open, but that's not going to happen with Jon Rahm. He's not going to relinquish that lead. He's gonna win this tournament. So this tournament is going to largely be shadowed by that very fact. That's why in the thumbnail, if you saw, I had Jon Rahm kind of being Patrick Cantlay's shadow. It was fun. It was fun to create. Anyways, let's move on from there. Before I get further into it, I want to remind you guys there are timestamps in the description below. Those timestamps can also be found on YouTube's progress bar. Go ahead and hover over it and you will find them there. Basically, this is a recap video. I kind of went over the little Jon Rahm thing, but we'll recap how the tournament went. And then we'll get into the $5 GPP winning lineup, which had Jon Rahm in it, by the way. $5 GPP winning lineup versus the optimal lineup. And then take a look at the buckets, see how well they did, and see if we can create a lineup with all of the conditionals, with all the anchor buckets that I chose to make a lineup to beat the GPP. So go ahead, check out those timestamps down below. Let's get into this thing. I have the results page. No, I don't. I have the DK page. Now we have the results page up. Cantlay and Morikawa went into a playoff where Cantlay won on the very first hole. He makes a par. I don't know what's going on with Morikawa because I wasn't watching. I was training for a golf tournament. So I didn't really see the end of it. I saw a lot of the beginning and middle part of it. So I watched a lot of Scotty Scheffler play really well. He finished third, but I think on his fourth hole had a shank. And if you've ever played competitively and ever hit a shank during a competitive round, I'll tell you what, it's not easy, playing from there. I know how to, avoid hitting a shank, but I have to focus so hard on those things to avoid a shank. A lot of it's just clearing your hips a little faster, making sure your hips aren't crowding into the ball or early extending. That's where the shanks really come from. So that probably played a lot on Scotty Scheffler. I thought he was going to win this tournament. I was sold with the narrative that first timers usually get their wins here. Like good first timers. Looking at Hideki Matsuyama. Forgot who the other guy is that is pretty decent. Got his first win here. Anyways, but yeah, I kind of bought into that. I thought that was going to happen. We see Brandon Grace there at fourth place at 10 under, Patrick Reed in fifth place at 8 under, and then drops to 6 under. So those top 5 guys, they played really well this week. And I'm not going to discredit the guys below with Jimmy Walker in 6, Shane Lowry also in 6, and Max Homa in 6 at 6 under. But yeah, there's kind of a huge disparity. The winner was double that score. So 6th place to 10th place, or 6th place to 9th place, were half the score of the winner. Aaron Wise in 9th place, as well as Siwoo Kim. Siwoo Kim had the second lowest round of the day, only to be beat out by Jimmy Walker. Both of those guys go from like 60th place up to the top 10. And Jimmy Walker, by the way, he was a alternate. Someone withdrew at the beginning of the week. That gave him that spot, finished 6th place, made the most of it. And then also you can see Ricky Fowler finished 11th place, almost inside the top 10 at 4 under. Just kind of continuing his good play from the PGA Championship. 2 tough courses, 2 really good strength of fields. 4 under. That's it. 11th place is the big one. That's great for Ricky. And then Xander also ties him, and you can see some of the other guys. I'm not going to go through the rest of them, but yeah, it was an interesting tournament. An interesting top 10 leaderboard, especially when you have Jimmy Walker in there with who was the low price. Jimmy Walker was 64, and then Brandon Grace was 68. So yeah, seeing those guys, kind of surprising in my opinion. Let's go ahead and get into the $5 GPP winning lineup versus the optimal lineup. The golfers highlighted in blue are your $5 GPP winning lineup golfers. So Patrick Cantlay, Scotty Scheffler, Max Homa, scroll down here, Danny Willett, who finished 26th, and Jason Duffner, who finished 37th. Those are 5 of your 6 golfers. The 6th one is down here with Jon Rahm withdrawing. He still scored 93 points. Think of that, 93 points. That's with no placement points. If you give him first place, that's 123. He scores 10 more or 8 more than Cantlay. But obviously you bump him down to 2nd place. So you minus 10 points from him. So 105. So Morikawa would have had 111. Rahm would have had 123. And that's just using Saturday's round. What if Sunday he puts on another 20 points onto his score? He's obliterating this field, meaning you would have had to have Rahm. But the GPP winning lineup had Rahm, regardless. He didn't even play a 3rd round and ended up being, let me show you this. He was the 5th highest scorer on DraftKings, even with the withdraw, 93 points. It's insane. It's unfortunate for Rahm, but that's insane. The $5 GPP winning lineups used $49,900, so he left $100 on the table, scored 520 points. The optimal lineup are all the golfers here with the little black tick marks. Does not include Jon Rahm, but you have Max Homa. Actually, let's start from top to bottom. Patrick Cantlay, Collin Morikawa, Scotty Scheffler, Brennan Grace, Jimmy Walker, Max Homa. So if you're paying attention, we have a 10K golfer, 2 9K golfers, a 7K golfer, and 2 6s. Kind of an interesting way to create an optimal lineup, but this was one of those tournaments where there was really no, there was no pattern to the optimal lineup. Usually we see a 10, 9, 8, 2 7s, and a 6. This one, we did see multiple 6s in the optimal lineup, or I should say multiple years where there were at least 2 6K golfers inside the optimal lineup. So it's no surprise to see 2 6s. But I personally would have I let it open. I went over the optimal lineup strategy and kind of said it was wide open. There wasn't a specific way to build your lineups based off of past optimal lineups. So it was open, and obviously we saw that. Now, the optimal lineup scored 592 points. That is 72 points greater than that $5 GPP winning lineup. So obviously there were tons of ways to build this, to beat this GPP winning lineup. The optimal used 49,600. I constantly tell you guys, let's build lineups over 49,000. We don't need to leave a lot of money on the table. The closer we get to 50,000, the less amount of permutations we can build with lineups. And if you don't know what the word permutation means, it just means the amount of combinations of golfers we can put together in our lineups to get close to that $50,000 mark. So either way, 49.6, pretty reasonable. GPP winning lineup, 49.9. There's no point in doing a realistic optimal lineup. Usually I like to do that because the optimal lineup sometimes can be 47,000. And that is not realistic to leave $3,000 on the table. So I always look at something that's over 49,000 that can beat the GPP winning lineup. We already have it with the optimal. So 49.6, pretty reasonable to get there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the DK page. We can get a little bit more information on this. Let's see. What do I want to start with? What I could start with is the SweetSpot score. We'll go ahead and start there. We'll go left to right. And we'll get back into the bucket system and see if we can build a lineup to beat that GPP winning lineup. We'll do that later. We'll do that at the end. But for the SweetSpot score, when we look at the top 10 here, I usually like to find most of the scores under that halfway point. So there are 122 golfers there are 120 golfers in the field for this tournament. So I want less than 60. And if I'm looking at this, we have 1, 2, 3 golfers that were not less than 60 inside the top 10. The rest of them were. So 7 out of 10 golfers were under 60. I like that. That works for me. Unfortunately, we have to play 2 of those golfers in order to get to the optimal lineup. So that's kind of a bummer. Hard to determine, if we're using the SweetSpot score, hard to get to these 2 golfers. And I'll tell you what, I kind of crossed off Jimmy Walker. I did not want to. I think I put him at 0.05%. I put him not at 0% because I did want the optimizer to select him, but only once. And if I were to put it at 1%, if I made over 100 lineups, it could pick him twice. And I did not want him more than once. Shocker here, he wasn't picked. 110 on the SweetSpot score is not good. So anyways, yeah, I wouldn't have gotten to Jimmy Walker, wouldn't have gotten to Brennan Grace. So I wouldn't have built the optimal lineup. I would not have had any of the 6K golfers inside the top 10. Just wasn't happening. So the score needs to be updated for this tournament. Is kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah. I'll have to work on that. I'll have to take a look to see what type of scores we could do. I don't think we're getting there with Jimmy Walker regardless. So I'm not even bummed about that. It's just one of those things that, in order for the optimizer to pick Jimmy Walker or for us to even select Jimmy Walker, we need to look past that SweetSpot score. So overall, not terrible. If I were to, sort this from top to bottom, I want to see more top 10s or top 20s than missed cuts and withdraws. Obviously, unfortunate with Rahm. He was my number 1 ranked golfer this week. I played a lot of them, so it's unfortunate that he had to withdraw. he still scored us 93 points, which was good. But yeah, number 1 in the model. Then number 2 was Spieth, 3 was McIlroy, and 4 was Schauffele. They all finished top 20. Matsuyama kind of had a bad weekend, did make the cut. Same kind of with Finau. Like, I was expecting a little bit more from Finau. Then we have DeChambeau and Morikawa. Let's just do this. 1, 2, 3, 4 missed cuts inside the top 20. 1, 2, 3, 4 top 10s, really top 5s. And then, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 top 20s. So 8 top 20s versus 4 missed cuts and withdraws. That's pretty good. SweetSpot Score I thought was fine. No issues with that. Unfortunately, like I said before, could not get to Jimmy Walker or Brandon Grace no matter what. So I don't know how we do that going forward. I mean, I do want to figure it out because these are the golfers that we're going to need some exposure to somewhat in order to win a GPP. You have to put exposures to these guys. Otherwise, you're never going to get there. With the SweetSpot Score, we can get into Time Pairings. And the very first thing I want to do is show you. So we did this during the strategy video, by the way. We filtered by this green color, and if you don't know what it means, it just means the scoring average and hold on. It means all 3 golfers in the group combined, the SweetSpot Score was under 100. That's why that color, that was a dark color. So let me go ahead, sort this so we can see each of these lineups, and I'll do this to make it easier for you guys to see. But what I had told you, this is amazing. It worked once again. Every single week that I've been doing this, really it just goes back to the PGA Championship. So now it's 3 weeks in a row this has worked. When you look at this, these are our marquee groups basically, but with the SweetSpot Score, collectively they're under 100. That's why they get this dark green color with the SweetSpot Score. You can obviously see the game color is highlighted with most of it's dark green. But here's the thing. I told you, because we did this also, what was the tournament just prior to this? The Charles Schwab Classic, or Challenge. We did that there, and only 2 golfers came out of that inside the optimal lineup. You know, basically what I'm trying to tell you is, first of all, look at this group. I said one of these guys will finish inside the top 10, if not top 20. Same thing is going to apply for this group. Same thing is going to apply for this group. Same thing is going to apply for this group. And it did. I did say also that probably only 2 of those groups are going to find golfers that have top 10 finishes. There were 3. But 2 of them were in your optimal lineup. Cantlay and Morikawa. Do you remember what I said during the strategy video? Those were the 2 golfers of those groups that I'm going to fade. Like, I'm all in with Schauffele. I'm all in with Rahm. I like DeChambeau a little bit better than any of the other guys. And I think I said I'd rather play Spieth over Cantlay. So I was completely off. Those 2 golfers obviously finished first and second. And then there's Reed there at 5th. This is something I'm going to be looking into going forward. This is a better use of our tee time, analysis, tee time pairing analysis, I should say. But yeah, Morikawa, Cantlay, boom, first, second. I guess I was telling you guys, I did something. I was really aggressive with my lineups. And I also said I'm not playing Adam Scott down here. And obviously, Adam Scott was the best one out of them. For me, I went aggressive. So I did a lot of Xander. I did a lot of Rahm. Who else was it in the 10K? And Rory. So those were the 3 golfers I went heavy on. Didn't give me much room to go with Morikawa. I didn't want to play Morikawa, if I'm being honest. I liked JT better than I liked Morikawa. But obviously, this is a place that Morikawa plays well at. And honestly, it goes to show these T10. We're getting somewhere with the tee time pairings. We're going to do this again for the next tournament. And we're going to anchor our lineups around some of these golfers. So that's what you can look forward to next week and going forward. So yeah, tee time pairings, wonderful with this. This is, for me, I want to figure out the easiest way to anchor some golfers, right? I want to make lineup building easier for you guys. I want to make lineup building easier for myself. And I think looking at it that way, those Time Pairings is a good way to do it. Going from there, I think what I want to do is, I would probably look at every stat, top 20 stat, but yeah, let's just go ahead and do that first. And then we can review the bucket system. Since that's kind of the meat of my analysis is the bucket system, I'm going to say that to last. So let's go ahead and I suppose we don't need to do that. Let's look at grass stats first. Our number one golfer, grass stats, was Jon Rahm. Obviously, he was forced to withdraw. Let me actually let's freeze this one. Overall bent grass, he's your best golfer in the field. Obviously, was forced to withdraw. I kept Jason Day. He withdrew in the morning. So there was still some percentage of people who played him, but he obviously didn't even start the tournament. That was something I got right at the beginning of the week. I think in my preview video, I'm like, yeah, Jason Day's shown up a bunch, but I don't trust him. I'm not going to play him. I'm not even going to waste my time playing Jason Day. And thankfully, I was correct. It's just, why? Why play him unless he's in the 6K range at this point? Seriously. He's not worth it. Not worth it. But yeah, I kept him up there. Anyways, moving on. We see a lot of top 10s and a lot of top 20s. We see just about as many top 10s, top 20s as we see miscuts and withdraws. We see a bunch of withdraws here. Holy moly. Kuchar withdrew. Watson withdrew. Neiman missed the cut. Sungjae missed the cut. And Rahm was forced to withdraw. So what? We have a total of 5? Yeah, we have more top 20s and top 10s. Plus, we have 3 golfers that were in the optimal lineup that were inside the top 20 of this stat. So Scheffler, Cantlay, and Morikawa. Definitely bent grass was a good stat to look at. Looking at top 10 bent percentages, yeah, that one wasn't as good. Just as many missed cuts and withdraws as there were top 20s. But I guess Reed and DeChambeau down here kind of rounded up. There were more top 20s and top 5s, top 10s. Not top 5s, I'm sorry. There were more top 20s than there were missed cuts. The opposite of this, though, if you recall, I don't like to play anyone who's under 5%. And I got real close of biting my words with Bo Hoag. Again, I'm picking everyone who is top 10. Like, I'm trying to build all my lineups with 6 golfers inside the top 10. Bo Hoag, 13th, not close enough. Close enough, but didn't work, obviously. Did not finish inside the top 10. I go to 5%. So anyone less than 5%, I won't roster. That ended up working out swell. We have some golfers here at 5%. One of them, Aaron Wise, who finished in top 10. So his number will go up. And unfortunately, Ortiz, that number's going to go down because he finished 16th. Not a good bent grass golfer, or hasn't been, but this will obviously improve his average. So that's good for Ortiz. And Max Homa, this will go up for him as well, as will Shane Lowry's. And he actually had a very good 2021 bent grass season. Looking at that 2021 bent grass, a very good equal mix of top 20s and missed cuts. So not a stat that we can really go with and benefit there. Looking at off the tee stats, so your best off the tee golfers, the 2 golfers who finished inside the optimal lineup, Sky Scheffler, Patrick Cantlay. Otherwise, that's pretty terrible. Oh, Morikawa would be what? Is he inside the top 20? He was 21st. Okay. So, yeah, if we look at the top 23 golfers, Shane Lowry, Streelman, Morikawa, they're at the bottom of it. It works out, but there are so many missed cuts and withdraws in here that it makes it very difficult to look at this as this stat is an important stat. Looking at approach, they say this is a second shot golf course. We have Morikawa obviously finishing second, and then Cantlay down here finishing first. We have more missed cuts and withdraws than we have top 20s. So this year, and these are your lead-in stats, by the way. This isn't the stats that just happened for this tournament. I hate when people do that in their review videos. Like, oh yeah, Morikawa gained 13 shots approach. Yeah, he finished second. There's like, his stats are going to be in the plus for nearly everything. What's the point? Unless you just want to say, oh, hey, based off of his baseline, he played this much well, above it. Otherwise, talking about what happened at the tournament is kind of dumb. It's dumb when trying to compare. That's all I'm trying to get at. Around the green stats, did this matter? Well, I mean, it looks like there's a tie between top 20s and missed cuts. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There you go, 7 and 7. So around the green, not terrible. Wouldn't be a stat I'd put much investment in. And putting, there's more missed cuts and withdraws than there are top 20s. So there wasn't a stat you could really go by. And that's I'm glad. If I were to go ahead and sort this by top 10 and maybe I'll keep it like this. We're obviously going to talk about Aaron Wise up. I do create strokes gained buckets, and the lower the bucket, the better, in my opinion. Strokes gained bucket 1 is all of their stats. So strokes gained bucket 1, off the tee, approach, around the green, and putting are positive. We see 1, 2, 3 total instances where that happened. So I can go ahead and just highlight all of these guys. So Siwoo Kim, Patrick Reed, and Patrick Cantlay, your strokes gained bucket 1 golfers. We do have 2 instances where there's strokes gained bucket 2. Scotty Scheffler, which is positive off the tee, positive putting, but one of the stats in between is negative. So obviously it still means you're a good golfer. We also had Max Homa, positive off the tee, positive putting, and his negative stat was around the green. And again, these are lead-in stats, season-long lead-in stats. And then we had 2 strokes gained bucket 3 golfers. That's positive off the tee, negative putting, positive off the tee, negative putting. And then we only had 1 strokes gained bucket 4 and 1 strokes gained bucket 5. But strokes gained bucket 4 is negative off the tee, positive putting, and strokes gained bucket 5 is negative off the tee and negative putting. I really don't care what is in the middle, but you can see Brandon Grace, negative as approach. Strokes gained total, he was negative. Jimmy Walker was negative. The rest of the guys were positive. So interesting to look at stats that way. I do have some miscellaneous stats over here. I don't know if we're really going to see anything that pops out. I'm trying to figure some kind of model with 1-putt frequencies, like 1-putt percentages, whether it's 5 to 10 feet, 10 to 15 feet. Just trying to look to see, if their stats are high in that, what's their potential of, doing well in a tournament if everything goes right, which, I mean, that's kind of with everything. So I don't know how I'm actually going to look at this. So, I mean, 3 guys here in the optimal lineup, 4 really close. So 1 putt from 5 to 10 feet is pretty good. 1 putt in total. Not terrible, but not something we're going to predict. And 1 putt 10 to 15 feet, same. There's not really anything we can look there. Here, how about this? I'm going to do this really quick. Go ahead, pause the video if you want to look at some of these stats. That's driving distance. Here's driving accuracy. Good drive percentage. Again, these are lead-in stats. Greens and reg. Proximity. Proximity is the wrong way. Proximity. We already did 1 putt on everything there. Bogey avoidance. We want to go the other way. Sorry. Yeah, that's not terrible. Bogey avoidance looks good. How about birdie or better? Birdie or better was a good stat to go by. 3 golfers inside the optimal lineup. 4 very close. Again, Max Homa being that 4th guy. And those are really the only stats I'm going to talk about. So let's go ahead and review this bucket system. I like to start here with the summary, and we'll kind of go back and forth. I know it might be a little difficult, but basically everything that's highlighted in this column, so my adjusted projection, I created this adjusted projection because it depends on how many golfers are in that bucket this year versus the average, and then the success rate To me, it's safe to always have one lower than the actual projected amount, which is just success rate multiplied by how many golfers are in that bucket this year, to give us kind of a good idea, should we really trust this bucket? So I always round down. So this would be 0, not 1. I know it's kind of cheesy, but I also like to look at the adjusted min as well. And usually, if that's 0 or greater, I might be a little, I might go up above. But usually I'm always rounding down. If I see a 0, anyways, 1 for last year too. So if I go and I look, sort this by top 10, I want to find 1 last year too. I have Patrick Reed. I also have Siwoo Kim. So we had 2 golfers in that bucket. So when we look at this, the adjusted projection was 0.99. We hit it. So it's green. That's what I did with all of these buckets. The only bucket that didn't hit, the only 2 buckets that didn't hit, was course history bucket 1 golfers and recent form bucket 2 golfers. Both of them that 20 to 40 range, but both of them were really highly projected. So 3.49, this would just be 3. I would project 3. If we go and we look at that top 10, course history bucket 1 is correct, right? So course history bucket 1. So we're looking at this column here, obviously looking at just the top 10. I see 1, 2 golfers in that bucket. So unfortunately, whoa. 1, 2. There we go. Let's do this all over again. Select all of those guys. And then obviously we're looking only at the top 10 under this bucket. So we're looking at course history 1s. It's Scheffler, it's Reed. There are only 2. So obviously you can see that didn't hit the projection. We're looking for 3. Same applies for recent form 2. We're looking for 4 golfers. That's pretty high. That's a high number. Recent form bucket 2. So we have 1, 2, 3. So we had 3. We barely missed out. And if we're being honest, there's Schauffele there that could have rounded these buckets out. He could have, if he finished inside the top 10, both of those buckets would have hit. The bucket system would have been 100% this week if Schauffele could have just had 1 shot better. Again, 11th place. Pretty damn close. So buckets were really close. Next time I do this, I'll just round down so you guys can see the actual adjusted projections. I'm not going to go through all of these buckets. I will say this, the ones that have negative actually showed up 0 inside the top 10. Most of them did. So I think there was one that didn't. So it just shows you, don't select those buckets. But we did also kind of go with anchor buckets, which I ended up doing is selecting anything greater than 0 and projected had to be 1 or greater. So I think I did this, and we had last week 1, course history 2, recent form 1. Okay, I think I'm missing something here. Now I don't remember how I did it. But if I were to go to this lineup construction page, I did last week 1, course history 2, recent form 1, and recent form 2. I think I know why I did recent form 2. Although the adjusted min was 0, the projection was so high that I chose to select it, which maybe that's the reason why. The 2 zeros that I have for adjusted min, they didn't hit. They were your high projected amounts. The ones that were above 0 did hit. That had 3 or 2 or greater, really. All of these hit. So maybe that's something to look at going forward, since these have 0. Maybe I should just have only looked at these as my buckets. Maybe. So anyways, last week 1, course history 2, recent form 1. We obviously went through. We know those hit. Your golfers that were in here, I mean, obviously Rahm was all over on these buckets. He was all at the top. He would have been an easy one. I played a lot of him. So unfortunately, he was forced to withdraw. does not, get to apply to any of these stats, but he was very much there. He was definitely going to hit for all of those buckets. And I guess that's another thing too. He was the last week 1, course history 2. Which ones didn't work out? I already forgot. I have such a bad short-term memory. Very good long-term memory. Very bad short-term memory. Yeah, so this one, course history 1 and recent form 2. Was that what John Rahm was? It was recent form 2. So yeah, Rahm would have made that one up. Course history 1. I guess he's a course history 2 golfer. So no, he wouldn't have boosted that one at all. Anyways, you can see all these light green. Those are the golfers that were inside the top 10 for this tournament inside these anchor buckets. So yeah, we could have found them. Now, the anchor buckets were pretty deep this week. I'm still kind of messing around trying to figure out how to figure, some of these anchor buckets out. Or not trying to figure them out. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it. I want to have a limited amount of golfers to choose from, and obviously see that success finish inside the top 10. So, yeah, I mean, I can tell you the anchor buckets worked. They would have got you at least a couple guys, Morikawa, it would have got you Cantlay, and it would have got you Scotty Scheffler. So very easily doable there. But it also would have gotten you John Rahm. That was another one. And very close to Xander. But anyways, unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. So yeah, I'm still figuring out or just working the adjusted projections, that kind of stuff, to give us a better all-around look. Let's go ahead and build a lineup that would beat the GPP winning lineup. We just need something to score over 520. So if we were to go ahead, go back to that summary, and why don't we just start with everything that's greater than 1 for adjusted min. So last week ones, let's see if we can find 3 golfers that we can put in a lineup that, or at least we can start with, like, we're looking to see if we can build these with salaries. That's one of the big things is, yeah, we can accurately predict, the top 10 buckets, but sometimes we can't build them with the salaries. So we're looking for 3 last week ones. Cantlay, Homa. Do we go with Lowry? Let's go with Aaron Wise. So let me select their points as well. There we go. So we have Cantlay, we have Homa, we have Wise. That's our first bucket we're looking at. We go back to the summary. Our second bucket are going to be course history 2s. We want to find 3 there. Are any of the guys we just picked course history 2s? They are not. So if we pick 3, we got to make sure we pick the correct golfers. 1. So we're going to pick Lowry anyways. Maybe we just pick Lowry instead of Wise. There you go. So we already have a course history 2 with that. That's perfect. And then it's Siwoo Kim. It's got to be if we're picking 3. Recent form 1s, we want to select 2. Do we already have that? Yes, we do that with him, and we do with Max Homa. So recent form 1's already taken care of. And then 2 7K golfers. Can we do that? Siwoo was already 7, and Max Homa 7. So we already got that covered. Perfect. 1 strokes gained bucket 1 guy. We got that in Patrick Cantlay. 3 strokes gained bucket 3 golfers. We have 1 with Mr. Morikawa. We have 1 with Lowry. And now we would select Wise. He would be that last guy. And a strokes gained bucket 4 golfer. Let's see here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we already picked 6 golfers. Siwoo we'll put here. Shane Lowry there. And Morikawa. Can we create a lineup with this? First of all, how much does this score? $551. So it beats the optimal lineup. Does it fit? It looks like it does. And is it close to that 50,000 mark? Oh, it doesn't fit. It's 50,100. Man, that was close. So that doesn't work out. Jimmy Walker is a strokes gained bucket 4 golfer, but he doesn't fit any of those other buckets. So maybe we start there. Can we go with Jimmy Walker, who's strokes gained bucket 4? So that obviously hits this one down here. Actually, that says 0. So we don't need 0. But the adjusted min is 1. So let's just say 1. 1 there. And we'll go with our strokes gained bucket 3 golfers. So 1, 2, 3. Strokes gained bucket 1. We'll go with the winner. Obviously, no brainer there. Salary 7K. So we got to add Homa because we already have Aaron Wise. So we got Homa. Recent form 1. We want to find 2. So we have 1 there and we have there. So we don't have to think of recent form at all anymore. Course history 2s. We want to find 3. So we have 1 there. We have 1 here. I mean, we already have 6 golfers selected, so unfortunately, we can't get to 3. We could try Siwoo Kim, but that doesn't work. So I'm pretty sure, okay, this is going to work. With price, that is. So that didn't work out for course history 2. Can we get last week 1 with 3? So 1, 2, 3. Yes. So the only thing we couldn't do is course history 2s. Course history 2s we couldn't fit that in, which is interesting. Okay, so course history 2s, 1 for the adjusted min. So that means 3. Technically 3 did show up. Do I just look at the regular mins and try to figure it out? No. I'm trying to find a failsafe. So I'm trying to think of what I could do as a failsafe going forward, with like adjusted mins and that kind of stuff. So obviously the projections wouldn't have worked with some of these, but putting it into the adjusted projections, the only thing that doesn't hit is this one, 3.64. But I don't know I can get it down to 2.64, going forward, or even if we do. Perhaps we have to look at this. Shoot, I don't know, guys. I really don't know how to figure this one out. Anyways, does this work? Can we build a lineup with these golfers? So it'd be these 4, that 49,200. So that would fit the optimal lineup, the realistic optimal lineup, and then it would be these these points here, 566.5. So it was better than the one that we were just previously building. So yeah, this would beat the GPP winning lineup. It would rival the optimal lineup. Based off of just these buckets, building lineups with just these buckets with those adjusted projections, except for this one. So this one does not work for us trying to build the optimal lineup. Yeah, I don't think we get there. I mean, so Jimmy Walker, obviously that works with a strokes gained bucket 4. We had to pick Homa, Lowry, and Wise, but then you need these 2 guys. So really, it would be trying to pivot from Wise to Siwoo, but then our strokes gained bucket 3s don't work out because we wanted 3. Yeah, I mean, so I'm kind of trying to figure this out with you guys on the fly. That's why I'm sitting here in silence trying to think. Maybe you guys have a better idea of how to come up with these adjusted projections. What I'm trying to get at, what I want to try to figure out is to get these to hit. Obviously, I want I want you guys, or I want to be able to tell you guys, we're going to see at least this amount. Obviously, this didn't work with this one, but it did for the other ones, which is somewhat impressive, right? Has to be. But how do we, yeah, whatever. We can move on. So yeah, building based off of, you know, these easy buckets to go with, we could have made a lineup that would have beat the GPP winning lineup. So with that being said, the bucket system worked pretty well. And again, I mean, they all worked well, other than those two that I had talked about earlier. But maybe I need to figure out a different formula to give a better projection. So yeah, I guess if you guys have an idea, in, you know, leave it in the comment section, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I think that's it. I don't have anything else to talk about. I wanted to review the bucket system. Like I said, it worked out. You know, all but 2 buckets worked. You know, they hit. So it, with the adjusted projections that I did have, that worked out. Unfortunately, trying to build a lineup with those adjusted projections with the buckets, we couldn't really build an optimal, or couldn't build a lineup to beat the GPP that was within the salary constraints. But that is fine. Okay, moving on. So next week is the Palmetto Championship at Congaree. It's a new tournament. It's replacing the Canadian Open. And unfortunately, we're not going to have course history stats, so there won't be any course history buckets. We're not going to have any last year stats, well, because this is the first time playing, so we won't have any last year buckets. We still can have recent form buckets. We can still have last week buckets, but what I'm going to have to do is kind of create a universal bucket system, which is great because this is something I've been meaning to do, and this tournament is going to force me to do something like that because we're going to use that. I'm also going to, obviously, we're keeping track of strength of field every single week. So hopefully with that, we can also figure out this bucket system a little bit better too, because I believe the strength of field, obviously that fluctuates year after year. Perhaps that's what causes some of the fluctuations in the bucket system. And we could probably accurately predict that knowing the type of strength of field we have. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to that. Again, I'll use that kind of universal bucket system to go over the buckets with you guys based off that information. Again, we don't have last year buckets and we don't have course history buckets, but we can go with recent form last week. We can still look at salary buckets. We can still look at strokes gained buckets because that all works out basically every tournament. You know, you see a lot of strokes gained 1, 2, and 3s. You barely see any 4s and 5s. And that same applies for this week. And usually recent form, you can see there's 1, 2s, and 3s. Last week, 1, 2s, and 3s. Maybe it's going to be simpler next week than originally thought. So with that, I have nothing else for you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you in that preview video for the Palmetto Championship. All right, bye.